Hi, welcome to the bathtub, where when you hear this music, and we stop it really quick, so because we're afraid of getting sued, and we only name this episode this theme show New-Bop-A-Lula for the simple reason that we wanted to play the Gene Vincent song in the background, and then we couldn't play it very far because we'd get sued. That's how we do things here. It's how we do things in the bathtub. Is everything is kind of half-assed, and if it wasn't half-assed, then we probably wouldn't do it. That's our new parakeet Dodo. She's in the background. She sometimes speaks up during the. She sometimes sends in her own 2 bits every once in a while during these talks, often to remind me how to pronounce Nabokov properly. We're doing the New-Bop-A-Lula, which is just all the whole point of these theme shows is to just show you books that I got. Like these are either new books I got, or sometimes I actually buy the books. Sometimes people send them to me. Sometimes they're books I'm reviewing or would like to review, and that's all there is. They're just like cool books to look at. A lot of people have been saying to me, Scott, when will you stop promoting your goddamn book? And I'm going to stop that today. This is my goddamn book. It's called The Millennial's Guide to Death. I still have the same offers up. Anybody who wants a free PDF of this book, they just have to write me and I'll send you a free PDF. You can give it to anybody you want. You can post it on the internet. You can do anything you want with it. And anyone who actually reviews this book anywhere, even on their own social media, I'll send you a free copy if you're in the United States. And if you're outside the United States, we'll figure something out. I'll send you something. I don't know what. Okay. That's the end of that's the self-promotion part. We're the real shameful part is Acma is sponsoring the show. Amazon and the Washington Post can kiss my ass. And of course, then I'm such a bastard. I produced this. It's sold on Amazon. I don't know how to do it any other way. I'm sorry. I really hate Amazon, and that's all. All my books are going to come out this way because I can't learn anything new. I've reached the point in my life I can't learn anything new, and I can barely remember the stuff I already do know. So here's a bunch of stuff we got. Our friend Andy McKinney sent this book. I haven't read it. Most of these I haven't read any of these books probably, or I've only read bits of them. And he sent me this. This is kind of a cool. This looks like a sort of self-published book too, possibly through something like CreateSpace. It's called The Day of the Jack Russell by Colin Bateman, and it's the second or third in a series of mystery novels that are set at No Alibis Bookshop in Belfast, place where Andy goes to. And it's just kind of a cool book. This guy has written. And I read the first page, and I was expecting it to be terrible crap. It looks pretty good. It's pretty well written so far. The first page is good, and it's kind of a cool idea. I think this guy runs No Alibis Bookshop. So if you're in Belfast, you go to that bookshop. You should buy all your books from No Alibis Bookshop, and you should buy their books from No Alibis Bookshop. And that's one of them, The Day of the Jack Russell. It looks like a fun little mystery novel set in Belfast, which is becoming the cool place for noir fiction. I haven't read any of these books. The Reason for the Darkness of the Night, Edgar Allan Poe and the Forging of American Science. It's a new biography of Poe, who's my friend Tom Dish used to call Edgar Allan Poe our embarrassing ancestor. And I think that's fair. He's our embarrassing ancestor because he was kind of a psychopathic old bastard, racist, pro-slave. He loved slavery. He was a complete creep in a lot of ways. And he was sort of brilliant and fascinating at the same time. And this is looking through some of his scientific interests, and particularly because he did write some really weird stuff like Eureka, which were kind of these forgings of all the scientific information that he had, plus all these weird philosophical ideas. And it looks really good. I don't know. I don't have no idea if it's any good. I've not even read a page of it, but I was thinking of trying to review it for somebody, and it's really nicely produced. It has nice photos in it and stuff. And I have to say, I really enjoy biographies of Edgar Allan Poe. He's one of the great people to read biographies of. And one of my favorite all-time biographies is Kenneth Silverman's biography of Edgar Allan Poe from about 25, 30 years ago. I loved that book, and I would like to read this one. Here's a book. I don't know anything about this one either. It just came because Jeff Guinn is interested. I'm interested in Jeff Guinn simply because he writes a lot about kind of Old West history, which interests me. So I think he's got a book on Wyatt Earp. What the hell books has he written? He's got books on Wyatt Earp, Bonnie and Clyde, the OK Corral. He's got lots of crazy people. He did Charles Manson, the biography of Charles Manson, and one on Jim Jones and the People's Temple. Anyway, this is called War on the Border, Pancho Villa, Pershing, the Texas Rangers, and an American invasion. That really sounds kind of fascinating, you know. So it's about the borderlands, the Mexican borderlands, during Pancho Villa's time. Kind of just came in. I don't know anything about it. Would like to read it. We are reading this. I've been reading about halfway through the latest Uncle Scrooge volume, which is called Island in the Sky. And look at that cool cover. We did a long piece about Karl Barks. One of my favorite pieces I ever wrote. I wrote for the Los Angeles Review of Books about 6 months ago. And for the most part, Uncle Scrooge is an old creep who'll do anything for money. But basically, these are fairly pro-environmental books. They're always about the stupidity of destroying nature. And of course, Uncle Scrooge spends most of his time trying to destroy nature. So they're kind of odd but funny and beautifully written, beautifully drawn comic books. So that's cool. That's the newest Uncle Scrooge. I'm enjoying that one quite a bit. These are the Library of America. You know, many of us love these. E.O. Wilson, the Great Naturalist. And you know, what's fun about Library of America is they don't just do literary fiction. They do this guy who's supposed to be a really good prose writer. I've never read him, but a really good prose writer about science. He did a lot of work on ants. I want to say he did a lot of work on ants. But it's a nice, solid, beautiful book. And if you have a scientist in the family, you might want to get it for him. But it's probably a lovely book for anybody. But who knows? I don't have the faintest idea. I'm not going to read it, probably. I'll never get around to that one. Maybe someday I'll read it. This is called Charlie Brown's America, The Popular Politics of Peanuts. Now, we at the Bathtub don't take these sort of books into the bathtub too often. It's from Oxford University Press. It's not particularly long. I did a piece on this for the New Republic. It should be out in the next few days. And I enjoyed reading it. I love Peanuts. I'm a huge Peanuts fan. We may do a special episode on Charles Schulz and Peanuts. And it's kind of trying to look at these comics which seem apolitical and seem not to deal with politics. But the time Schulz does deal with politics is very interesting. And I think this guy did a really good job. His name is Blake Scott Ball, and I enjoyed reading this, and I particularly enjoy the opportunity to go back and reread, because I have all of the Snoopy books. Maybe I'll bring those out and show you. That's definitely all Bathtub Hall of Fame has got to be a Snoopy and Charlie Brown and Charles Schulz series. Our floral pattern martini glass, humongous Manhattan, and look, another Library of America book. I was kind of a little disappointed to find out this had come out a few months ago. This is Gene Stafford's Complete Stories and Other Writings. We did an episode on the Bathtub a year or two ago when I reviewed the novels. The Library of America did her novels, which are really good and really funny. But her genius is the short story. I read a lot of these stories over the years. I will definitely be reading this book. So this will definitely be going on my reading shelf or my reading stack next to my chair. And I will definitely try to get to this. I've read so many of these stories over the years. She's very funny. She's sort of achiever territory, but a little funnier and a little less nasty. And she's got a kind of a warmth about her, but she's very funny, very satirical, and writes lovely, beautifully written short stories. If you're a short story writer, Gene Stafford's great. And normally we advocate buying the original individual author, single author collections, we call them. But this is kind of a cool volume. It has uncollected stories, it has some essays, and it has a short nonfiction piece about Gene Stafford going to interview Lee Harvey Oswald's mother. I have never read that, but I think I want to read that. We've also got a lot of kind of genre stuff coming up here. We're big fans of S.T. Joshi. I just double-checked. I actually do know how to pronounce his name correctly. S.T. Joshi. We love him. We love Hippocampus Press. We at the Bathtub we're late bloomers when it comes to weird tales, weird fiction, horror fiction, and Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith stuff. I laughed at that stuff. I made fun of it. I thought it was terrible. I used to kid my students for reading it. I totally take it all back. I really like a lot of that weird fiction. Joshi's this kind of brilliant, just exhaustingly erudite character who knows all this stuff, a lot of stuff really well. Produces book after book after book. And his newest one is The Harbor Master, Best Weird Stories of Robert W. Chambers. This is another book that's going to go right next to my Gene Stafford book. I'm going to definitely read this. He wrote a book of stories called The King in Yellow, which many people consider one of the greatest all-time horror collections. And it's supposed to have had a big influence on people like Ligotti and Lovecraft and so forth. I don't know. I'm just copying what they tell me here. I've never read any of those stories, never read any of these, but I like this whole series that they're doing, which is the best weird stories, the classics of Gothic horror series from Hippocampus. Try to buy from them directly. Try not to buy through Amazon. Remember that, and try to buy directly from them, and they'll have give them a healthier bank balance. That comes with this book, which I may not read, but it's edited by James Chambers, who is blah blah. I didn't even check. I think he's like a great-grandson or something of Robert W. Chambers. And these are new stories based on the Yellow Sign stories by Robert Chambers. I don't know what that means because I haven't read Robert Chambers. But these are new stories. It has a lot of kind of interesting contemporary horror writers. I don't know anything about. John Langan is quite well regarded. Daryl Schweitzer is a good writer and critic. Tim Wagoner. I don't know most of these people. But if you're really interested in Robert Chambers, this is another cool book from Hippocampus. Finally, well, no, not finally, because I have 2 or 3 other things to talk about. This is a proof of a guy named Michael Shea. A number of our bathing buddies have written me over the past couple of years telling me how much they like Michael Shea. And it kind of just went over my head. I've always seen Michael Shea's books around. They were kind of amorphously lost in all those DAW paperbacks, those Yellow Jacket paperbacks, which are cool books, but they publish so much stuff. I didn't know anything about his work. I've never read him. I kind of confused him with Michael Whelan, who did a lot of artists. He did a lot of the covers for some of the Michael Moorcock DAW paperbacks and so forth. And somehow I had them muddled up in my mind. Anyway, this is a new book coming out in about 3 months from Hippocampus. It's called, I can't pronounce it, Mr. Canny Harma, a novel of Lovecraftian terror. It's a Michael Shea book edited by the ubiquitous S.T. Joshi, in which it's set in a crummy hotel in the Mission District, where I spent a lot of my youth. I'm wandering around and probably trying to buy marijuana and stuff. I spent a lot of time in the Mission District, and especially when I was in high school. And my mom was an area my mom liked, especially the Castro District. I remember going to movies out there with my mother. And anyway, he wrote a lot of his stuff set in San Francisco, and supposedly wrote a lot of stories, Lovecraftian adaptations set in San Francisco. Now, I don't know anything about Michael Shea. He's written some Jack Vance type book. He wrote some horror novels. I don't know anything about his work, but people who have read him swear by him. I hear all this great stuff. And I only opened this up to read a few paragraphs, and he could clearly write. And this is the book he couldn't publish when he was alive. So I'm very interested in reading Michael Shea, and I'm just throwing him out there for those of you who maybe know him or never heard of him, and maybe just like me would like to find out what the hell he's all about. I'll hopefully do more on Michael Shea soon. Let me say, before I get to finally, because I don't want to forget this part, this is something I want everyone to see. It's called Free Read Press. Free Read Press. And there's the what do you call the website, whatever it is. It's https blah blah, whatever that is. freereadpress, one word, .com. Now be careful. That's the website I want to send you to. freeread.com is some weird guy who writes Christian fantasy or something. And when my old professor told me that this was his website, I went to this crazy. I thought my old professor was becoming a Mooney or something. This is a cool website. This is my old friend John Carlos Rowe, and he's got a partner. And his theory for a long time, and over years I've slowly always go towards. I totally disagree with John, and then over the years I kind of gravitate towards his point of view. He thinks all books should just be free, and he set up Free Read Press. It's a new press. It's got a lot of kind of academic work, but it has John Carlos Rowe's memoirs, which is actually quite a cool book. I read parts of that. I read all of that actually in manuscript. It's called something of Carlos. Oh, I should know it, but I forget what it is now already. But anyway, Memories of Carlos or something like that. And it's really interesting book about growing up in Los Angeles and loving books and getting into academia. They have a lot of critical theory books. They have original poetry, original fiction on this website, and it's all free. So basically, you can browse through this. If you see something that interests you, you just download it as an ebook and it's yours. And they're not. These are interesting books, subjects, and writers. And it's kind of a cool place for a new idea for books. Instead of just publishing your own book and letting these bastards at Amazon make money off it, it's totally free. So you might check that out. I really, really advocate it. I really recommend it. I think it's a really cool website. And don't go to the freeread.com. Don't go there. This is something I just got. A lot of people, I guess another one, many of our bathing buddies love Gene Wolfe. I like a lot of Gene Wolfe. He's best known for the Book of the New Sun. They were published as 4 novels, but it was actually 1 novel. So Gene Wolfe wrote this one long, humongous novel, and the publishers carved it up into 4 volumes. I've never made it through. I'm going to say, sorry, a lot of people get mad at me. The Book of the New Sun, I never made it through. A lot of my friends love this book. They've written well about it. Every once in a while I try to read it again. I've gotten almost through volume 2 like 2 or 3 times. It's got a lot of brilliant stuff. It's kind of this Jack Vancian far future world. It's quite haunting and dark and strange. Again, I like a lot of Gene Wolfe's books and stories, and I'm going to keep trying. But for now, the first 2 volumes are coming out from Tor, and that's just kind of a cool way of getting it, I guess. But remember, this was 1 novel, so it doesn't matter how you buy it. It's 1 novel. It has kind of some academic introductions, which I found kind of didn't really help me very much. Finally, and now we'll finally say finally, and I'm going to quit. The latest volume, this is the other small publisher like Hippocampus we love now at the Bathtub, Centipede Press, the RA Lafferty's collected short fiction. It is coming out in the most... They do something different from Hippocampus, where they actually do smaller editions and do these beautifully bound hardcover editions, and they only are limited. You can only buy them in these editions. The newest one is called The Man Who Never Was. It's kind of just bringing all these great Lafferty stories, some which were in print, some were never printed before, some were printed in very small volumes, never saw. And if you're a big fan of Lafferty like we are here at the Bathtub, it's kind of hard to resist buying this series. And I'm kind of buying them, but I'm having trouble getting through all of them because he's a really, really dense, complicated writer, and I love to read him you're in the right moment, the right mood for Lafferty stories. They're great, but these are beautifully produced books with new introductions, and I don't think you can find a more beautiful set of books than these. Unfortunately, they're probably pretty expensive too. Okay, we'll be talking about all these writers soon. That's New-Bop-A-Lula, and lots of great books out there to buy. And I just wanted to clear my shelf because my shelf was getting just too big, so I just covered as many books as I could just to get them out of the bathtub. Stay safe. Check out that free books website. It's brand new books, brand new free ebooks.